We are still reeling from the emotional aftershock. That wasn't just a tennis match. It was the dawn of a completely new era. Carlos Alcaraz is the king of Melbourne. He sealed the career Grand Slam at just 22 years old. Let that sink in for a second. And he didn't just win. He toppled the Titan, Novak Djokovic, right in his own backyard. I gave you my raw, unedited reaction live yesterday, but today we need to slow the heart rate down. I've been dissecting the footage, grinding through the stats, and something just clicked. It all comes down to one critical factor, a tactical masterstroke from Carlitos that actually broke Djokovic. Strap in, folks, because we are diving deep into the real game today. Let's roll. Before we unveil the secret, let's set the stage, because there is a lot to unpack here. I know your feed is flooded with highlights right now, but listen, I want us to pause and dissect the how. Forget the trophy for a second and ask, how on earth do you take down a Djokovic who was fresh off that resurrection against Sinner? Let's be real. Novak walked onto that court with serious momentum. After surviving 5 sets with Jannik, most of us, myself included, thought he'd be unstoppable in the final. And honestly, Nole's opening set was absolute perfection. Then the script flipped. It wasn't some magic trick, and it wasn't because Djokovic suddenly aged 10 years in 60 minutes. It shifted because Alcaraz brought a new weapon, something totally out of character. Think back to my breakdown of the 2025 French Open final, where Carlos rewrote the narrative. Well, what we witnessed yesterday in Australia, that was the evolution of that maturity. We aren't doing a history lesson today. Save that for tomorrow's upload. Trust me, it's going to be legendary. Right now, we are going to dissect the master plan. To get how Carlos won, you have to grasp what Novak was trying to do. Djokovic stepped onto Rod Laver Arena, sticking to the exact same blueprint he used to dismantle Sinner in the semis. Calculated aggression mixed with surgical precision, Nole knew the math. At 38, you don't sign up for a physical marathon against a 22-year-old beast. The strategy? Keep it short. Dominate with the forehand. Paint the lines so Alcaraz couldn't wind up for the kill. And for that first set, it worked like a charm. We saw Djokovic in God mode, missing nothing, punishing every single short ball Charlie offered. That's the moment we all thought, ouch, this is about to get real ugly for Carlos. Because typically, when Alcaraz gets pushed into a corner like that, his raw DNA screams fire back. He usually tries to hit harder, chase the impossible winner, and go full kamikaze on offense. That flashy style makes us fall in love with the power, but it also racks up the unforced error count. Against a Djokovic locked in sniper mode, getting into a slugfest to see who hits harder is usually a death sentence. But yesterday, Carlos refused to take the bait. He pulled a move that left us all stunned. Hang on a second, fam. If you're digging this deep dive where we don't just look at the score, but actually learn the game, smash that subscribe button. It costs you nothing and helps me keep these high-level breakdowns coming. All right, let's get back to it. Here is the $1 million secret, the golden ticket. Alcaraz didn't try to blow the roof off with highlight reel winners. Instead, he put on his hard hat. He made a decisive call that the single most critical stat of the day wasn't going to be flashy winners, but slashing unforced errors. From the second set on, Carlos locked himself into a ruthless Spartan mindset. Keep the unforced errors under 6 per set. Just 6. For a guy with his explosive DNA, that is basically fighting against his own nature. So, why flip the script like that? Because he realized his silver bullet against a 38-year-old Djokovic wasn't raw power, it was sheer volume. Alcaraz stopped painting the lines on the second or third shot. He started playing with margin, hitting high and heavy, forcing Djokovic to hit just one more ball, then another, and another. And let me tell you, when you have to generate your own pace because your opponent is sending everything back, deep and safe, your legs start to scream. It was a masterclass in pure attrition. Alcaraz traded the highlight reel for cold, hard efficiency. Sure, we saw fewer viral, YouTube-ready screamers in the middle sets, but we watched Djokovic's health bar drain in real time. It was like watching a boa constrictor slowly squeezing the life out of its prey. Novak was hunting for those typical Carlos errors, the shanks, the net cords, but the gifts never came. And when the freebies dry up, you are forced to roll the dice. And rolling the dice on tired legs, that is exactly keys start cracking. To cut those errors and drag out the rallies, he made a technical tweak you couldn't miss. I bet the hardcore tennis nerds in the audience caught it immediately. Did you notice where Alcaraz was standing on the return, specifically on Djokovic's second serve? He was practically sitting in the front row of the stands. People were messaging me, like, hey, why is he retreating? It's a second serve. He should be stepping in to kill it. Wrong. That is where the genius lies. Alcaraz read the game like an open book. He knew if he stepped in aggressively, he might rip a winner, but he risked shanking it or giving Novak rhythm. By dropping back, he accomplished two massive things. First, he guaranteed the ball stayed in play deep and looping. Second, and this is key, he forced a rally. Carlos didn't want a quick 1-2 punch. He wanted a brawl. Returning from the nosebleeds was his way of telling Djokovic, all right, let's dance. You are 38, I am 22. Let's see whose legs give out first. Choosing to open up the point instead of blasting a winner was what finally fried the Serbian circuits. There were service games for Nole that turned into absolute physical torture chambers. Even if Djokovic won the point, the physical tax was exorbitant, and that bill came due in the fourth set. Naturally, the fallout from this master plan didn't take long to surface. By the middle of the third, we started seeing a mortal Djokovic. The same guy who looked invincible was suddenly arriving late to his spots. At this elite level, half a second is the difference between ripping a winner and floating a meatball for your opponent to crush. Alcaraz, with his zero dumb mistakes policy, forced Novak to treat every single point like a championship point. Unlike the semifinals, where tactical blunders defined the match, Alcaraz was an absolute brick wall. Sinner practically handed Nole a lifeline, but Carlos? He snatched that hope right back. Yesterday, Novak's legs just couldn't handle the crushing weight of Alcaraz's defense. Even when momentum seemed to shift, you could tell the tank was empty. His body simply gave up on him. This wasn't a random collapse. It was a calculated, slow-burn tactical assassination. What truly blows my mind here is what this victory signals for Carlos's future. We are witnessing an absolute metamorphosis. The Alcaraz of 2022 was pure, raw instinct, a Ferrari with no brakes. But this 2026 version has unlocked a god-tier mental state. He's mastered the art of winning ugly. Yesterday proved he can completely rewrite his playbook to match the opponent. Against Jannik, Alcaraz would have gone full attack mode. But against Nole, he knew the secret weapon was pure attrition. That discipline to say, today we grind it out, is exactly what separates good players from true legends. Now, his mental game is bulletproof. And be warned, a player usually peaks at 26. Carlos is only 22. If this isn't even his ceiling yet, it is terrifying to imagine what comes next. Yesterday's win wasn't just about raw talent, it was about pure tennis IQ. Alcaraz took down the best version of Djokovic. He used his brain before his racket. Alcaraz has graduated from child prodigy to master tactician. I feel a little bad for Sinner, though seeing Carlos dismantle the guy who just beat him must be a bitter pill. But welcome to the Big Two era. Jannik will have his time in the sun, no doubt. But yesterday, Alcaraz made a statement loud enough to echo through history. I'm dropping a video tomorrow breaking down exactly what this title means for the eternity of tennis. So smash that bell. All right, crew, sound off in the comments. What's your take? Do you think this version of Alcaraz is truly unbeatable? Did you catch that adjustment on his returns? I'm off to write tomorrow's script. Smash that like button if you dug this breakdown. I'm signing off for now.